So in the book of Luke, there's this verse that says, I tell you the truth. Be kind to those who hate you. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If somebody hits you in the face, strikes you in the face, turn the other cheek and let them strike you there too. And I tell you the truth, I've always hated that verse. I mean, it sounds really nice and like peace-filled, but does it work in reality? I mean, is there any application that actually makes any sense for anybody? I remember when I was in 8th grade and the kid who was taunting me for my temporary friendlessness, he was temporary. That was pretty cool. But anyway, he had convinced me that I didn't have any friends because everyone was avoiding me because they thought I was gay. And this was long before Will and Grace and things that made that a lot more cool. And then to add injury to that insult, he one day came up behind me in my locker and slammed my face up against the metal, and I fell down, and I was thinking, like, don't fight back, like, turn the other cheek. I have one cheek up against the metal, but anyway, I'm falling down, and that went miserably. He continued to pummel me on the floor, and it wasn't until Mr. Davis pulled him off me in front of all these other kids. And so I thought to myself, if that's what you mean by turn the other cheek, I'm like, God, no thank you. So about a decade ago, when we were living in Los Angeles, I came across this book called Jesus for President by this guy named Shane Claiborne. And no, it's not some right-wing propaganda thing about how the election of 45 is like the literal second coming. It's actually about how both sides of the political spectrum have kind of co-opted the Christian story into something that is unrecognizable to Jesus followers. But anyway, so I'm reading this book, and he brings up something in there about turning the other cheek that I never heard in Sunday school, at the felt board, in catechism. And it's basically that by turning the other cheek, you force an abuser or a perpetrator to look you in the eye again. You force them to see your sacred humanity. You force them to see, like, look, I am a person made in the image of God, and nothing you can do with your fists or your hands or your words can ever destroy that. So look me in the eye. And when you do that, it makes it increasingly harder for that abuser or perpetrator to actually continue to hurt you. So I had the opportunity, as I was sort of praying, like, okay, what does that mean, God? And God would give me a situation where that would become and what it is that actually turning the other cheek is actually an act of resilience and resistance. And so I'm driving home from work in LA. It's 9:30 at night, and I just get off my flip phone. Remember those? With my wife, and the woman who had this. I should say the woman who decided to marry me and has still decided that it's a good idea, thankfully. And I got off the phone with her, and we had a small argument about our 5-month-old daughter, probably about like strategies for getting her to sleep through the night. Just a side note, like that, why is that like the thing that like defines if you're a good parent or not? If you can get your kid to sleep through the night, it's kind of crazy. They don't sleep through the night. Any of you new parents out there, it takes a while. But anyway, so we had a little argument about that. And as I'm pulling into the driveway of our shared townhome complex, I noticed a couple that is standing there at the threshold of the sidewalk in the driveway. And I drive by them, and they have a baby stroller. And I'm coming in, get into the garage, and as I open the door to my car, I can hear them arguing, like sort of screaming at each other. So I get a little closer, and I hear like, fine, go out with your homies, I don't care. Like, you don't care about this baby, you don't care about me, just go play your stupid games, just be gone. And there's like a pang of like, I just had to play with my wife. Like, I know what's going on here, my goodness. So, brilliant niece goes around the corner, and I sort of see them, and as soon as he sees me, he's about as far away from I am to the back window, he just starts running at me, full tilt, running straight at me, and I'm like, he's like, you don't know me, what do you want to mess with? He's running at me, and I'm just frozen, and then I see him slam his hand into his pocket, and something like shiny comes up. I'm like, oh yeah, so I should take off. And I run into our garage, and I'm fumbling, like, you know where the garage door button is, but like you can't find it, it's empty, so I'm like, yeah, it's too late. He's in the garage with me, and he is raging. He's like, I should mess you up, man, I'm from the barrio. Man, what are you doing getting into my business? And I was like, look, I meant you no harm, I just wanted to see like if you were okay, like I meant you no harm. And he sort of he's just kind of going around, looks like he might smash the window of my car, and he starts to back up and he says, Unit 79, I know where you live, you shouldn't have messed with me, I'll be back. And he sort of backs up, and you know how, like, have you ever had your heart pounding in a way that, like, your hair hurts, like the hair follicles, your nose, like, just like everything, like sort of like now, because you know when you get nervous, anyway, a little less now. He's not like, you know, panting in front of me. But anyway, he backs up, and as the garage door is closing, I would notice two things. I would see like a moment where his face sort of softened, and he had this like look of almost like a shame or an embarrassment. And then I also noticed that what was in his hand that I thought was maybe a knife or a gun was actually like just like a crumpled up soda can. So anyway, the door closes, I walk up the stairs, and my wife has heard the commotion, and she's like, what the hell's going on? And I tell her, and she's like, well, I mean, do you think we should call the police? I'm like, no, he knows where we live. That's clear. And no, I don't think so. And then something really like calm comes over me, like a peace. And I can only describe it as sort of like any of you have read through scripture, like a Moses moment where like I just suddenly knew what I had to do. I needed to go back out and face him. And it was not something that came from any sort of internal thought of mine, but it's just like, I got to go back out there. I kept seeing his face go from like rage to sort of pain. And my wife's like, well, do you want to take anything? I'm like, no, that would probably come off wrong with threatening it. I just need to go out and see him again. And so she's like, all right. So I walk out, and I turn the corner again, and this is the space for this sort of miracle. As soon as he sees me, his whole body, he's about my size, but his whole body language just sort of shrinks and crumples. And I sort of approach him really slowly, and I'm like, and before I can say anything, he's just like, man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm just going through it right now. I'm really sorry. I'm like, it's okay. I'm Matthew. We shake hands, and we sit down there on the concrete, and I learned that they have a 2-month-old, and I tell them we have a 5-month-old. And I'm like, is there anything I can do? And he's like, man, just pray that it'll all work out. I'm like, I will do that. I also would ask that you would pray for us because we're kind of going through it ourselves. And I can tell that the woman is like not really into this. She's like got her back to us. And so I'm like, I don't ask to see the baby or anything. And I'm just like, all right, well, if there's anything you can do, and you know where I live. And he kind of laughed at you. And I'm like, no, it's cool. But anyway, good night, and hope to see you around. And I walk back, and I exhale, and I sort of weep a little bit, and I feel like, you know, I had gone out to like ask that he stand down and like, you know, show him that he was messing with a real human being, but it didn't even come to that, because just the act of turning and facing him again sort of changed the whole situation, and I was able to see him as a humane human being as well, and it just changed the whole situation. And so I walked back, and I was at peace. Now, I'm not sharing this story to say I'm any kind of hero in any way. Like, I'm not like some Jedi master who can like walk into a situation unarmed and just like disarm things. No. In fact, I felt like kind of a coward running away from a man just armed with this embarrassment in a Coke can. But I will say, and I also would say, like, it's not always wise to walk into a hornet's nest just for boldness' sake and to try to help a person and be like a savior in some way. But I'll say this, that if you feel harmed or rejected, and you feel a sense of calm and peace and resolve and resilience, go boldly forth in faith, because I learned a lot that night. Now, I will. But I have something else to say, is that go boldly forward. But I wrote this in a blog post about 10 years ago, and I've thought a little bit about what it means to turn the other cheek. And sometimes it's not wise to turn the other cheek. Sometimes in situations of abuse, or if you're a kid, and we've heard some of this tonight, sometimes it's wise to run away and tell somebody else. And myself, like as a kid at 5 years old, it took me 15 years to really be able to share some things that happened to me, much less than what we've heard tonight, but some things that happened to me that still impact me today. It took me 15 years, so I recognize that turning the other cheek is not always wise. And I also am telling this story in the context of now living in Detroit, on the east side in Pingree Park, and I have to reflect on some of the other dynamics of that story. Like, I am a European American who is a white person. I pass as white. I continually pass as white economically, socially, and that matters. The man that in the story, he was a young Latino father, and I'm not discrediting the lesson that I learned that night about those words: do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and turn the other cheek. But I wonder if there's other dynamics at play there. And I wonder what it means to turn the other cheek here in Detroit and what resiliency is. See, because I hear from my neighbors who are long-term brown-skinned black folks that have lived there for years tell me about how time and time again banks have denied them a loan just to fix their roof and just to fix their porch. And yet when my family moved in 2 years ago, we got a mortgage relatively easily. What does it mean to turn the other cheek here in Detroit? And what does it mean to actually learn about resiliency here? I mean, am I willing? I'm not getting slapped in the face here. It's those neighbors of mine that keep hearing outside developers come in and say, Detroit is a blank slate. You can do whatever you want. And they're like, here we are a people. So I'm learning that resiliency and resistance is something that is reborn in Detroit day after day after day. And so the question for someone like me is, will I look at people who feel they've been slapped in the face time and time again? Will I see their full humanity when they tell me stories of how they are still not getting access to things that I get easier access to? Will I listen to them and will I hold their sacred humanity when they tell me that they're frustrated that I was able to get a loan when they weren't? Will I stand arm in arm with them when they resist that and fight back? And will I stand by their side when they're pushing back for better situations for them and their families? And I think that resiliency and resistance is something that I'm still learning a lot about. But and these questions will be with me from here on out in Detroit. But I will pray and I hope that as we go from a situation, stories like this that we're hearing tonight, that we recognize that turning the other cheek is something that we all need to do together with each other. And that even in our fears and our frustrations and our pains and our hurts, that when we turn and face each other, we can hold and honor each other's sacred humanity.